Welcome back to the channel. It's your man Hendo here. This is the RouG Pod, and I am here to bring you a video on the schedule release. Now, it is finally here. There is no more need to speculate, assume, guess, ponder, or whatever. We know when the Ravens are going to play what teams at what time on what date. And we can now set our travel plans onto which games we want to see. Now, there was no mystery on the teams that we were actually going to play. It's just the dates that we were going to play them, if they were going to be in prime time, overseas, so what have you. And there were a few surprises here, but there are a bunch of things that I want to get into before I actually jump into the schedule release. This is the video where I have 10 things on my mind. 10, maybe more. I stopped counting after a while, but I have some things on my mind related to the schedule release that I want to share with you. First and most importantly, with the release of the schedule and the Ravens knowing what we actually have 5 primetime games. And this brought me to thinking about the impact that one Lamar Jackson has on this team. So for all you people, pundits, prognosticators, and just public spectators who wanted to question, was Lamar really worth the money that he was asking for? And was he worth the money that he inevitably got? This reason here is one of the reasons that you signed Lamar Jackson. This is one of the reasons that you have him on your team, not just because he's going to give you the passing yards, the rushing yards. He's going to lead you to a division title, and he's going to take you to the playoffs, possibly a Super Bowl. It is because the buzz that he generates gets you this primetime action, which happens to get you more exposure across the globe because you are the only team at that time on. So in essence, Lamar got the Ravens out here two-pocking. All eyes on me. So this just goes to show you that a man's worth is more than just gaudy statistics and winning percentages. It is about revenue shares, jersey sales, merchandising, putting people in the seats when you play. If Will Levis, Tyler Huntley, or whomever it is that they found on the street to bring in to be as a quarterback, we would not have 5 primetime games to show for. So the next time you want to count somebody else's pockets, remember this. When you see the Baltimore Ravens playing at nighttime, it is all because of Lamar Jackson. And I know there's going to be some people out there, it ain't the person, it's the organization. Yeah, okay. Take Lamar off this team and see how many primetime games we get. When Joe Flacco was quarterbacking his team well after the Super Bowl, how many primetime games did we get? So think about that. And speaking of those primetime games, we start our first primetime game in week 6. Of all places, in London. I remember that last time we were in London and we played the Jacksonville Jaguars with Joe Flacco. It was not a pretty sight. The team looked hard, putrid. 2 knees was out there. And it is just something that I hope we do not rehash. Hopefully with Lamar and this team, with the offensive upgrades and this defense, we can put a better showing on. But we do go out there to play our vaunted rivals, the Tennessee Titans, our old AFC Central foes, in a matchup where it's a lot of bad blood going on. Hopefully with us, cooler heads can prevail, and we'll come out there with a W. Then in week 11, we have a home Thursday night game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Division champs come to Baltimore. It's Thursday night. We play them on a short week. I don't know how I feel about that. It depends on what happens the week before. But I'll get into that a little bit later. Then the very next week, week 12, we have a Sunday night game against the Los Angeles Chargers in LA. That should be a very interesting game because I really would love to see how this defense fares against Justin Herbert and that offense. That'll kind of give us a little inclination where we are. It's well enough into the season where we should have gelled at that point. And I think it's going to make a big statement because, listen, the AFC is loaded and the Chargers are in contention for a playoff spot as well. So hopefully we should be where we need to be, possibly 9-2, 10-1 possibly. So even if we did lose this game, which we probably won't, it won't make a difference. Then in week 15, we have another Sunday night game, this time down in Duval County to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville looks to be a very tough team, as we saw when they went down by 28 points against the Chargers, and Trevor Lawrence led them to a comeback. Also, they get Calvin Ridley added to the team, so this already explosive offense looks even better. Hopefully, we can get some things done, because when we played the Jacksonville Jags last year, they came back that last-minute win, and we owe them some revenge. And then, finally, finally we get a Monday night game against the San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco on Christmas Day of all days, or Christmas Day night, however you want to call it. But it is going to be Christmas night, the only game in town. We get to truly see if the Baltimore Ravens are a Super Bowl contender, because the San Francisco 49ers, depending upon what they do with their quarterback situation, look to be one of the favorites in the NFC to make it to the Super Bowl. So this will be a possible Super Bowl matchup. I mean, I wouldn't mind going back to the Super Bowl, beating the 49ers once again. Then we end the season with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, that is to be determined, because now this year at week 12 and beyond, the league can now flex Monday night games depending upon the matchups, because we've known for years some of these Monday night matchups were snooze fest. Some of them were, how did this team get on Monday night? Why would they even schedule something like this? This is a game nobody wants to see. Now, as far as my takeaways go for the schedule release, we get to open the season at home against the Houston Texans. Will it be CJ Stroud? Who knows who the quarterback will be of the Houston Texans? They couldn't beat us with Deshaun Watson, so why would they now? I think this is a nice, easy test for the Ravens, something for them to get warmed up, something for the offense to build continuity with, because during the preseason, I'm not sure if they're going to play a lot of snaps, because we've had a lot of injury issues in the preseason, because the very next week, we get the defending division champs in the Cincinnati Bengals, where we travel to Cincinnati to play them. The second takeaway is the fact that in the first 5 weeks, we have to play 3 division games. Normally, they would spread them out over the back end season. They want to seem to get things on and popping as early as they can. The league didn't do us any favors, as we have Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh in the first 5 weeks. And also, we play Cleveland and Pittsburgh on back-to-back weeks. Setup, you think? I'm not sure. But I think they did something similar to us at the end of last season. But no matter. As long as we have Lamar Jackson at quarterback, it's all good. Now, after the Steelers game, which is always physically taxing on both teams, what do we get? We get the gift of traveling all the way to London to play the hated Tennessee Titans. Whoopee. Once again, I think somebody in that league office has it out for us. We have this physical game, then we have to go play a team that we really do not care for. Also, with the long travel, the demands to having to make accommodations for family and friends, it can be a little bit taxing. Listen, under normal circumstances, I would call this game a win, but with all that's going on, this might be a toss-up game for me. Takeaway number 4, there is no bye week after the London game. So after going through all that and having to travel back all the way here, we do not get a bye. We have to play the very next week. Now, granted, it is a home game, so I give them that. And granted, it is also against the Detroit Lions. Now, they may not be the Detroit Lions of old, but essentially, this should be a game that we should win. Still think that we should get a week off to relax and recover from being overseas. Takeaway number 5. In week 10, the Baltimore Ravens have to play the Cleveland Browns, but then turn around 4 days later, and have to play the Cincinnati Bengals. So once again, we get back-to-back division opponents, this one on a short week. That's not what bothers me, because, of course, Cincinnati has to play on a short week as well. But as we're playing a Cleveland Browns division rival, the Cincinnati Bengals get to play the Houston Texans. I'm not saying that Houston's a cream puff, but it's a little bit different than playing back-to-back division games on a short week and you playing a lesser opponent that you may blow out and get to sit some starters in and get them some rest, knowing that you had to play 4 days later. So once again, schedule makers did not do us any favors. Now, I know there are some other teams that have it a lot worse than we do, but some of this don't sit right with me. Then the week after that, we have to travel to play the Los Angeles Chargers. But we do get 10 days off to prepare. Conversely, the Cincinnati Bengals have to play a division game with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they get 10 days to rest and prepare for Pittsburgh, whereas we get to prepare for a non-division opponent. Well, maybe that's the perk of being division champion. Take number 6 is the fact that we do not get a bye week until week 13. This will be the latest bye week that we've had since 2001. Normally, we get a bye week around the middle portion of the season. So, you play half your games, you get the rest up, heal up, and then you play the rest of them. And my final takeaway is, listen, I'm very appreciative of the fact that we get a Monday night game on Christmas Day. I'm appreciative of the fact that we just get a Monday night game altogether. But when NFL, and I implore you, please, somebody reach out to somebody I know so they can tell me, or you can tell somebody to tell somebody who knows something about it. When are the Ravens going to get a home Monday night football game? The Jacksonville Jaguars, Detroit Lions, some of the lesser teams, when they were a lot worse than they were now, would get 2 home Monday night games a year. Yet and still, we get a home Monday night game every 7 years, if that much. What's going on, NFL? You know that we think that you hate us in the first place, but just look at the facts. Just look at how things have been since we've returned to the NFL. We do not get home Monday night games. It just really doesn't happen. Even during the Ray Lewis era, even during after the Super Bowl, we got Monday night games. They just weren't here. So I'm going to need that to change because I need to go to some home Monday night games. So this has been a very enlightening day. We got some information. I know a lot of people don't really think that the schedule release is a big deal, but to some of us, knowing when and where the team's going to play, it gives us something to do. We miss football. It just gives us something to talk about. It gives us YouTubers something to stream about. It's just conversation. But I'm glad now I know how the schedule looks so I can plan out which games that I'm going to go to. I thank you all for hanging out with me. Like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure to leave your comments. Let me know. What do you think is the best game that we have? What games are you going to? Or do you think that the NFL gave us a raw deal? Let me know in the comments. So until next time, boy.